Witam na Przejmujemy Stery. Dzisiaj film dla wyznawców oficjalnego Blefu, wielkiego kosmosu, ale konieczne jest umieścić tutaj komentarz, abyście nie wpadli w wersję alternatywną. Ci, którzy się obudzili, dali się oszukać i bujają się dzisiaj po płaskich i kraterowych ziemiach. Dla nich już raczej ratunku nie ma, ponieważ oni są już przekonani, że znaleźli prawdę, gdy tymczasem wpadli pod wersję alternatywną. Dali się pokierować jak mały chłopczyk na rowerku na kijku przez system i rozsyłają wszędzie swoje wywody. W tym do mnie dzisiaj bombardowało mnie kilku ludzi o tym, że Ziemia jest płaska. Dlatego koniecznym jest, tak jak powiedziałem, umieścić komentarz, bo ten alternatywny system powie wam elementy prawdy. W tym przypadku wykażą wam dowody na blef, czy to jest wielkie przedstawienie na blef oficjalnego systemu, ale jednocześnie zrobią wam bardzo sprytne przekierowanie na, w tym przypadku, płaską Ziemię. W tym akurat filmie jest fragment, z którego wynika, że Ziemia nie jest wirującą kulką z trzymającymi się oceanami i to jest właśnie tutaj ten myk. To jest ukryte przekierowanie socjotechniczne, przekierowanie na płaską Ziemię. Ponieważ Ziemia faktycznie wirującą kulką nie jest, ale jest kulą, z tym, że my mieszkamy w jej wnętrzu i jest docisk. Docisk trzyma oceany na miejscu. Również proszę sobie zerknąć najlepiej na film numer 101 na tym kanale. Polacy Przejmujemy Stery. Tam są dowody na niebocentryzm. Kwestia. Płaski horyzont na każdej wysokości to nie znaczy, że Ziemia jest płaska i to wykorzystują płaskoziemcy, jak i wiele innych dowodów, jak tak zwane halo Słońca. Gdzieś tam wcisnęli, zrobili z tego kopułę. Tak samo efekt lornetkowy. I ogólnie nawet niebocentryzm tłumaczy ogólnie, to szczególnie mówię do ludzi religijnych, bo to najlepiej powiedzieć w takiej wersji, że po prostu ludzie, ukryto przed wami, można powiedzieć, Boga. Tylko to nie, tak się to nie powinno nazywać. To się powinno mówić tak jak Matka Ziemia, to gdzie jest Ojciec. Nawet element prawdy wam powiedziano w religii. Ojcze nasz, któryś jest gdzie? W niebie. Niebocentryzm. To jest takie proste. Po prostu to jest proste. To jest przyczyna ukrycia prawdziwej budowy świata. A wy się tam modlicie w te kosmosy. To się dziwicie, że macie jak macie. No i właśnie system alternatywny postanowił to nadrobić i ostatnio ktoś mi coś podesłał, że na tej kopule tej od płaskiej ziemi siedzi w jakimś tronie. Na tronie siedzi jakiś chyba słowiański Bóg, bo oczywiście słowiańszczyzna, czyli fałszywa tożsamość, to jest oczywiście domena płaskoziemców. Także pięknie. Nie dajcie się na to wszystko nabrać. Jeszcze chciałem tutaj poruszyć temat takiej sprytnej socjotechniki, takiego zagrania. Mianowicie takie 3 słowa. Szur, foliarz, płaskoziemca. Jak wy ludzie niby świadomi się dajecie w chu robić, bo sami uwiarygadniacie kłamstwo. Mówię tutaj o poszczególnych elementach realizacji agendy tego nowego porządku świata. Faktycznie jest ona realizowana. Wy pewnie gdzieś tam niektórzy się obudzili, powiedzmy w 2020, dopiero stali się znawcami od nowego porządku świata, wszystko już wiedzą i sami siebie nazywają płaskoziemcami. Czyli zastanówcie się, co robicie i co uwiarygadniacie. A teraz zapraszam już na film.
Przez całe życie miałeś przeczucie, że z tym światem coś jest nie w porządku. Żyłeś w świecie złudzeń. Nie. Nie wierzę. To niemożliwe. Nie mówiłem, że to będzie łatwe. Obiecałem ci tylko prawdę. Przestań. Nie wierzę w to. Dostanie świra. Oddychaj, Neo, oddychaj.
Do you believe this is a real, live recording?
Do you believe?
How about now? Does this make it more believable? Ask yourself,
Is this real? Do you believe? Is this real?
let's try this another way.
Breaking news. NASA finally did it. They finally did it. They're finally live streaming the Earth spinning from outer space. The world is celebrating. This one will go down in history.
Convinced? Well, if you didn't fall for that, then why would you fall for this? Maybe you just never paid attention. When you do pay attention, you start to notice things. Are you paying attention? People actually believe they walked on the moon, talked with Nixon, played golf, drove a car, and planted a flag.
If you really believe that Neil Armstrong took the first step, then why do you give any credit to the cameraman already there waiting for him?
These guys were all U.S. military men coerced into acting. They wanted the money and power that came with the deal, of course. The problem was, they were terrible actors. They couldn't even pretend to be excited, knowing they were lying to the world. But the show had to go on. Michael Collins and Neil Armstrong rarely spoke in public about it, but there was one man not shy about lying to your face. The spokesperson for the Apollo deception.
It's my pleasure to present Colonel Edwin Aldrin.
No handshake, hug, smile. Their facial expressions are similar to those experiencing constipation, not celebrating an accomplishment.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great sense of pride as an American and with humility as a human being that I say to you today what no men have been privileged to say before. We walked on the moon.
I mean, they couldn't pay them enough to look up and smile? Society has always debated these planned Apollo events since day one, never imagining then that almost 50 years later, they haven't had the balls to fake another.
As a tattooer, I talk to hundreds of people a month, and people are actually really starting to wake up with everything that's going on right now. I mean, people are sick of the lies. This is the biggest deception ever. The globe, the spinning ball globe is the biggest deception. If NASA was legit, literally all they would have to do is one thing. Take one of their satellites, zoom in on someone in Australia, upside down, driving a car. Or in the ocean, swimming, upside down. That's all they would have to do, just zoom in. But they won't do it. They'll never do it. We have the footage of them in the space capsule, still in Earth orbit, covering up a small section of the window, so you can see through the circle and making that look like that was the Earth. And this is a joke. I mean, how do people think this is real? I think it's hilarious that NASA will straight up tell you we destroyed the technology to go to the moon.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
But they destroyed the technology and they can't go back. It's ridiculous. There's an interview with Buzz Aldrin, actually, where he's being interviewed by a little girl. Her question was,
why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know what I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
After 50 years of lying to humanity and perpetrating this giant fraud, he's sick of the lie, and his conscience, he had a moment of humility, and his conscience wouldn't let him lie to this little 8-year-old girl. This silly globe model with water magically attached to it, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, shooting around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour, and rocketing through the universe at 500,000 miles an hour is just the goofiest, silly thing that I've ever heard in my life. They want you to think you're a monkey man, a purposeless accident created by nothing, that exploded from a big bang that was created not by scientists, by a priest, mind you, while they steal $58 million a day in taxpayers' money to show you cartoons. CGI. They just have to show you enough of Hollywood and magic tricks and for you to believe the nonsense. It shocks me how many people actually believe they're floating above our heads. It's all filmed here on Earth. Outer space is a fantasy. Google bubbles in space. You can literally see bubbles coming up from these astronauts' helmets. It's ridiculous. When I saw it, I was like, this is a joke.
So many times during spacewalks outside the International Space Station, you can see air bubbles rising up. Can you touch on how there are air bubbles in space?
Can you be more specific? Air bubbles?
So yeah, like a lot of times during the footage, the NASA footage, you can see bubbles coming up out of the helmets or kind of from underneath you. How do you explain bubbles in space?
Yeah, often on the outside of the space station, you'll liberate little pieces of, it's a really harsh environment out there, and the outside of the space station gets beat up pretty good. And sometimes, you'll see just little flecks of paint or something that you might have disrupted floating away from the suit. And, that's generally what that is. I've never seen any kind of air bubble anywhere.
Could it be that you're filming in an underwater pool and you're not really out there? All right, well, I just encourage everyone to look up Bubbles in Space, hashtag Bubbles in Space. Thank you very much. How's Bubbles in Space doing? How's what? Bubbles in Space.
Bubbles in space?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
No? You Mr. Kelly?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? You don't remember the question from Tampa about the bubbles in space coming up from the helmet? Yeah, you guys are in an underwater pool, remember? We know. Just remember.
What's up, man? Can you sideline the hashtag Bubbles in Space?
Hashtag Bubbles in space?
Bubbles in Space, brother. What's your word on that?
What is that?
Yeah, you were asked that 2 times in the past couple months, actually, about bubbles coming out in the spacewalks.
Oh, you're that guy.
I'm not that guy. I'm one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not going to write that.
And then,
thank you so much.
There you go.
Astronauts on harnesses as well. Anything to say about that?
Do I have anything to say about it?
Yeah.
I have anything you want me to say about it. What do you want me to say?
Whatever your thoughts are. I just want your honest opinion.
About what?
There's video evidence of guys hanging from harnesses in the International Space Station.
Sir, we need to keep going. There's a very long line. Thank you so much. Can you please step forward? Thank you so much.
How about
please step forward?
selling a book of pictures with taxpayer money? How about that?
Thank you so much.
Taxpayer money?
These were all on taxpayer dime, wasn't it? Not this one, but the picture book.
Come back over here. You know what you can do? You can sell the same pictures yourself because they are public domain. Absolutely.
They should be free to the taxpayers.
They are free.
Why are you selling it for $40?
You can do whatever you want with them.
Well, you're doing it a disjustice by ripping off the taxpayers.
Hey, you know what?
You're doing.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Once people start realizing that we've been lied to on a grand scale, everything from the government to our schools, it all just comes crumbling down. It shocks me how many people actually believe they're floating above our heads.
I've seen the International Space Station on YouTube and the astronauts floating about in it while they're orbiting the Earth at 17,000 miles per hour. You can't do that unless you're in outer space.
Practice makes perfect. Give me another week.
It's as simple as using a zero-G plane and strapping a harness to their belt. Then, just like Batman movies, they remove the wires using a computer. At times, the manipulation reveals itself. Green screen and blue screen technology cannot always be flawless. How can you keep denying this trickery? Here we see Europe's space agency at NASA's studios using a blue screen with grids. This technology has been used for decades. It works best for 3D and live manipulation. It's funny. Once NASA was caught red-handed, they produced a couple of senseless videos 8 months later, trying to pretend like they always use them for science experiments, knowing damn well it was too late. Why do clowns defend them?
There is no chance you could remove the background.
These people lie to your face in the hope that you will not do your own research. NASA knows that most are too lazy to dig through its massive rabbit hole. Yet, in the meantime, they just love to rub it in your face. They steal $52 million per day from American taxpayers just to create a fantasy display of men orbiting their spinning pear-shaped space testicle Earth. Their green screens are awful. When they are live and something glitches, their reactions are always priceless. I'm not sure why you globeheads keep defending all of this. Are you waiting on NASA to finally come forward?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear citizens of America. We here at NASA have been lying to you all since the 60s about our projects, operations, and missions into outer space. We have never been higher than lower Earth orbit.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
Every image we have shown you is CGI. Our films are mostly done in an underwater buoyancy facility. We have funneled millions of dollars per day to show you cartoons and false illusions, and we are truly very sorry. We will repay all taxpayers back the trillions of dollars we have stolen. This will be divided evenly between the citizens of America, as well as rebuilding poverty-stricken towns and cities all across America, as this department has finally come to an end.
Isn't it weird that every space documentary, all the series, I had them all, Joe had them all, we watch them all the time. I try to remember all the about a neutron star and a superhypernova. I was me and Joe were deep into space.
Beyond Venus, 93 million miles from the sun, is Earth. Its great oceans forming the clouds and air currents which warm and irrigate the planet.
I thought I was better than people because I knew so much about space. And every now and then I'd watch all that and wonder, what? This is all cartoons. And every now and then I think to myself, it's weird that we're not watching any actual footage of space. It's all CGI. All DVDs on space are all CGI. There's nothing real. And everyone watches that. They believe it. The narration is all programming. What's above us and what we're on, we're being lied to. Don't we have Hubble? Why don't you point it at the Earth and get some awesome shots of where we live? All the pictures and images from space are CGI. None of them are real. We haven't gone past that. What are you telling me that that's okay? We could just gloss over that? And they admit that they're all CGI, except for one in 1972, which is fake. They have one picture. They say one is real in 1972. All the rest is CGI. Like, where are the pictures of Earth from space? I want to see a picture. I want to see tens of thousands of them. I want to see the sun over here and the moon over there. People should have posters and all over the world. People should have these epic pictures of the Earth from space with the moon over here and the sun over there and the planets. There's none.
Literally zero. They do sometimes exaggerate, like claiming they used a NASA camera 1.6 million miles away to take this alleged video of the dark side of the moon. It doesn't take a genius to see how undeniably computer-generated this image is. And yet, you think we are the moronic ones?
Is gravity.
You have no idea. Okay, next question.
So you're telling me gravity is strong enough to hold oceans onto it, battling inertia from the spin. So gravity's holding oceans, and inertia's trying to pull it out and make it fling. Skyscrapers would fling off the Earth, but this gravity's holding these. It's so strong, it's holding the ocean, but it can't hold a helium balloon. Things that are less dense go up. Things that are more dense go down. Has nothing to do with gravity. Where's gravity at with butterflies? You would think that if gravity's so strong it's holding skyscrapers down to it, we would be flat on the ground.
There is gravity all the way out to the moon and beyond.
All our space information is coming from NASA. Werner von Braun was the director of all 6 moon missions, and he's a Is that not a comic book? That's a comic book.
We come from this big bang and fluffy puffy pixie fairy dust and unicorn farts, and all of a sudden consciousness just came out of that. No, it was designed. It's not an accident. Everything according to their bogus Darwinian theory of evolution, all of it points to a godless, atheist, demonic, demon-crat lie. NASA is a corporation, and they are the same people who run Disney. In fact, they are very, very similar, because what they do is they entertain people. They're not teaching people. They don't want people to know the truth about the cosmos. They're entertaining them with CGI images. Every image you see, image, not photo, every single one of them, all of those are computer-generated images. They are not photos. Everyone you see on Google is a CGI image. It is not a photo. And you can't tell that they are CGI. Either there's 2 things wrong with you. You are either or you are mentally deranged. You do not have control of your own mind. Your mind has been indoctrinated, it has been brainwashed, and you've been duped, and you still believe in Santa Claus and the upside-down spinning Santa ball, which the Jesuits invented in 1542. So we are not moving. We're supposed to be traveling at, get this number in your head, 66,600 mile an hour, 666.
From a very young age, wondering why the heck did I land in the Eisenhower family. I was faced with the opportunity to go to Mars. Some people wonder, why the heck didn't you go to Mars? But my intuition told me, from really recalling a youth filled with a lot of insight about what I was here to do, was to not go anywhere.
That is, Laura, you are a false prophet. The line going from the AC to the DC is called the line of the Earth, and it never moves. AC to DC, ascendant to descendant, that's called the line of the Earth, according to the astrologers of ancient. And that never moves, proving that there is no movement of the Earth calculated in any astrological chart reading that you do. You never account the movement or the position of the Earth in relation to any of these planets, because it's that line of the Earth which we call the horizon.
Speaking of horizons, some guy, he filmed a mountain. He was flying over Texas, and he used his camera to film a mountain. This mountain was supposed to be hidden by 35 miles of curvature with the current circumference of the Earth that we're given. Just sitting straight up, he's just right there. It's not hidden by 35 miles of curvature. It's crazy. You can see a boat disappear with your naked eye, and that used to be proof alone. That used to be proof for the curvature of the Earth. But now, you can watch the boat disappear with your naked eye, and then you can pull up this camera, and you can zoom in on the boat that you just watched disappear,
and you could bring it right back into full view, just perfectly visible. It's crazy. There's no camera tricks, there's no illusions involved. Nothing. It's just perfectly back into view. There's pilots coming out all the time too, and they're attesting to the fact that you can't find any curvature.
Ask any airline pilot what the shape of the Earth is. When they're done laughing at you, they'll tell you it's a sphere.
That's not, no, the ground looks to us like it's standing still.
Did you notice any curvature while we were up there?
Curvature? No.
No? There's no curvature?
It's just...
Every rocket goes up and then levels out. Most of NASA's rockets launch from Florida and head towards the Bermuda Triangle. Well, besides the occasional... They're not shy about showing the truth in plain sight. 125 alleged miles up, and they show you our level horizon with a local sun. Then quickly switch cameras to their fisheye lens, as if that didn't just happen. You have to pick one. You can't have both. Looks as if their cameras go about as high as most hot air balloons do before they burst. Who do they think they're fooling? But let me guess. You saw the curvature in the images from satellites. The thousands of magical orbiting aluminum tin cans floating in space. It's all animation and games until one comes crashing down on your squad. Many crashed satellites have been reported the world over, and the one thing they all have in common is giant helium balloons attached to them. Of course, satellite technology is real. We get our weather information, communication equipment, and even some internet service from them. Look up Google Loon, for example. It's not that they wouldn't use the magical floating satellites if they could. It's that they don't physically exist, nor does the globe. They have been sending these up one at a time since it all began. I will allow them to explain it.
He got a patent on that in 1950, and those early balloons were so large they didn't have any way to launch them, except they actually launched them from aircraft carriers.
Modern scientific ballooning was born. It was also the genesis for NASA's newly developed super pressure balloon.
The reason for super pressure ballooning is they have absolutely stable altitude, day, night, and it doesn't matter how cold the atmosphere is. They are sealed.
So your shape is always the same, you always displace the same amount of air, and therefore you have the same amount of buoyancy all the time.
This day-to-night altitude stability allows super pressure balloons and the sun.
Hi, I'm Matt, and this is NASA Now.
NASA's been using balloons for science research for over 30 years. The exploration that can be done on balloons is continuing to grow. Standard balloon that I fly is about 660 feet long when it's made. So when it's inflated, it's over 400 feet tall by 440 feet wide. Think of a domed stadium. That's how big my balloons are.
So let me get this straight. It is now public knowledge that they send up satellites on massive helium-filled balloons. As you should know, NASA is the largest consumer of helium in the world, for obvious reasons. But the issue with society is that they never critically think. Just think for a second here. If these are sent up to provide the world with all of the important information we need, and I'm sure the entire process is expensive and difficult to accomplish, then please explain to me what in a flat world do these pathetic animations do for you? Do they make you happy inside? Are they so super duper cool that you cannot see past the obvious CGI? The fact of the matter is everything NASA sends up on a balloon simply hovers above our motionless Earth. That is why they rarely speak about orbiting satellites, and of course, they never show footage. Here is some footage of a random evening with a man, the moon, and his Nikon P900. Notice anything floating up there?
Forget it, Bart. It's so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite.
Another remarkable fact about NASA's balloon launches is that many are launched from Antarctica. Is it because we cannot travel past certain parallels to witness their launches with our own eyes? What else are they hiding from us over there? It would be nice if someone was allowed to truly explore Antarctica again. It sure has been a while since the last guy.
Greetings to you, my young friend.
Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. Strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources.
Timeline goes as follows. So in 1955, Operation Deep Freeze starts. And when Admiral Richard Byrd gets back, he comes on live television and tells us he found more land, the size of North America. They quickly start NASA. President Eisenhower calls over the Nazi traitors, Operation Paperclip, to start the upper space mind control program. Don't look out there. Look up here. Look, everybody. We're going to the moon. Then, in 1959, 12 nations started the Antarctic Treaty, followed by 42 more nations where they have decided you or I cannot travel or explore any part of Antarctica south or past the 60th parallel without military clearance, without the aid of a guided tour.
Przez całe życie miałeś przeczucie, że z tym światem coś jest nie w porządku. Żyłeś w świecie złudzeń. Prawdziwy świat wygląda tak.